Call this meeting to order. Since I apologize for a few minutes late here today. We'll go ahead and get it began. Roll call.
Yes, sir. Mr. Hines.
Present.
Mr. Kovacic.
Present.
Ms. Link. Mr. Mitchell.
Present.
Ms. Saunders Smith. Mr. Scott.
Present.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to entertain a motion to amend our agenda. And I'd like to add the election of the chair and keep the nominating committee as presented as well. But I'd like to take that business today if it's the will of the body. I think it's important that we have a leader that can work with our staff and have just one voice, basically being our member. We have an active vice chair. I think it would be a wise move for us to do so.
Second.
All right.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call. All right.
Mr. Hines.
Yes.
Mr. Kovacic.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
All right. So that item will be added.
Oh, we have to make a motion
So we got to
still.
make a motion. to
Okay.
add-
I think that was just
Right, that was
just
to add it
to
to
modify the agenda. Congratulations on modifying the agenda.
Congratulations.
Unanimous.
Congratulations. You got through the hard part. I think we'll add that to new
New
business.
business.
We'll add that to new business
Yeah, we did.
before the nominated committee.
So now we want to get the minutes approved.
Yes. Before we do the minutes, if I could, Chair, or Vice Chair, there is one change that staff has noticed on the minutes. Mr. Donahue, if you could reference that.
Mr. Moore, that is correct, and good morning, by the way. There is a correction on the May 21st meeting minutes. The FIG, Facade Improvement Grant to the quarters at Parkview LLC, that was in the amount of $11,464.35, not the $25,000 that is referenced in the minutes that you've been presented.
Good catch, because that was about ready to come out.
What is the exact amount?
$11,464.35.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the amended minutes as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
All right. Mr. Hines.
Yes.
Mr. Kovacic.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries. Minutes are approved with the amendments.
Finance?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Today, we're just going to go over the May 31st financials. As of May 31st, total cash and temporary investment were $1,589,757. Total current asset were $316,082. Total capital asset were $1,205,661. Total other assets were $16,739,634. At May 31st, total assets were $19,851,134. Total liability at May 31st were $5,224,390. Total net position at May 31st were $14,626,744. For the income statement, total operating expense for the month of May were $17,196, and total non-operating net expense were $11,483. So for the month of May, the decrease in net position were $28,680. And Schedule A and B shows expense breakdown, detailed expense breakdown by property. And the next page is a summary of a local incentive grant for the month of May. at the month of May, the total available budget to be awarded was $1,452, and the total award to be paid in FY19 were $165,216. And the next page is a schedule of approved cash. I'm happy to answer any question you may have.
Mr. Vice Chair, no question about the financials. They look fine. But I think it's pretty important to point out the work of staff and, at the recommendation of our council, that we were able to grant out almost the entirety of our budget this year in the incentive programs. So we were able to make quite a bit of difference to quite a few businesses in our city. So this body and our council and staff to be commended for that.
Thank you.
I entertain a motion to approve the finance report subject to audit.
To send to audit? Yes. Doesn't require an action.
It doesn't require no action, right?
You officially carried them.
Thank you, Senator Orr.
Old business, Vita conference report. I guess, Mr. Mitchell, you want to speak on that?
Yeah, had an opportunity to go to Richmond to hear about some of the economic development authorities across the state of Virginia. It was a great seminar. I learned quite a bit. Some of my key learnings were that in many cases, the economic development boards are really more strategic roles where they sit down and really plan out strategies for the upcoming year. We talked a lot about financial incentives, tax-exempt financing for manufacturing and charitable organizations, which was a key finding as well. They also did a lot of reports. They did reports around retail vacancy. What's the current retail vacancy? Has there been any improvement year over year? Which I thought was a really good report. They focused on key business areas, particularly startups. What does it take for a startup to be successful in their region? They looked at funding resources. They did a lot around access to trained workforces. So they identified exactly what the business needs were, and then they partnered with various organizations to train the workforce to support those needs. They did something around micro business loans, which I thought was interesting. There may be some businesses that just need $500 or $1,000, and they provided those kind of micro business loans to smaller businesses. They also did in-house training for skilled positions. So, for example, the refrigerator company here, they may need skilled positions. The Economic Development Board really worked to provide opportunities to train those folks. The other thing that I thought was interesting, they would assess small businesses, and a business may say, look, if I just had this piece of equipment, I believe that I could increase my sales by this amount. Economic Development Board provided those kind of financial resources for those businesses to grow in that way. Danville, Virginia was another interesting one. Danville has been struggling, as you know, over the years, but they have a very aggressive program called Danville River District, Reimagine That. And one of the things that they did was they came up with clear design guidelines for their Danville River District. They have a lot of streetscape programs, which landscape, signage, all of those things, so they had a comprehensive look. They worked with breweries to come into the area to expand as well. And so what I really came from that is that there was a lot more strategy and working closely with the economic development team. And I'd love to see us do a little bit more analysis in terms of what are the needs of the small businesses, and that may require some resources to be added to your team to do that kind of work. But I think it certainly would be beneficial. And again, I thought it was a great experience as a new person for me. I enjoyed it very much. You want to add anything, Ray?
Commissioner Smith?
No, I think it was very comprehensive. I just add that it was a good opportunity to listen on sidebars and in between the various rural areas in the things that they up against, the things that they, with small staffs and limited funds, like everybody, I think, goes through that. But it was interesting as to how they approach things and how they deal with things. But their main issues was just trying to keep things going and generating interest. And they were all going through similar things like we do, but they were just most of the complaints I heard about, the staff, and they were wanting to know how many we had and how things work. But so it was just interested in talking to a few of them. I got a chance to talk with quite a few folks about how they get things done. But it was a lot of information, a lot of people there that really that gave us legal information, that gave us a lot of information as to what we can and cannot do, and how you can get in trouble, and what you need to watch out for in your deliberations and handling yourself, as commissioners. But it was very worth the trip.
Thank you, Commissioner Mitchell and Smith. We're going to move on now to new business. Mr. Moore?
I think we got one.
Oh, I'm sorry, we got one more. Oh, website. I think Mr. Hines had brought that up. Commissioner Hines had brought that up.
Yes, and I apologize for not being at the last meeting. Mr. Donahue did a great job in handling that meeting. And I think what Commissioners Mitchell and Smith brought up are a good segue into this item. Very quickly, economic development staff is in a rebranding mode, if you will, and part of that is updating our website. Staff is very dynamic, and we need a website that matches that. So we are going through that process as we speak. I'm looking at Ms. Biedenbaugh, and I have tasked her with having that done by August 1st. And so we are well on our way to making that happen. Part of that is support for small businesses in a number of different ways. One, from building a business directory, so that way you have that business-to-business opportunity so that if you have that refrigeration company that needs that training system, or those individuals to be trained, and there's a school that can do it here in Portsmouth, let's make it happen here in Portsmouth. But vice versa, if you have a brewery that is now brewing enough and distributing, and they need a distributor like an Interchange or so forth, there's that connection. We are also looking at ways to help the small business owner, the startups. Again, as you may have heard when we briefed council several months ago, and even this board, we talked about having a workforce development center. We are keenly interested in having that happen. We are working with Hampton University to put together that program and that incubator, if you will. So we are excited about that. And also from a small business or from a business standpoint, I think all localities in some way, shape, or form have a monthly meeting with the businesses or the business community, and we will not be different. So starting the first Friday of every month, starting in August, which will be August the 2nd, we will have at the Renaissance at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's from 8 to 9. We will have what's called our Let's Talk Business series, and that will be an opportunity for us to provide some input on what's going on from an economic development standpoint. We will have guest speakers and so forth, but it will be monthly, every month, again, on the first Friday of every month. And it's really an opportunity for businesses to connect, for us to connect with the businesses, and at the same time make sure that everyone is aware of what we're doing in economic development. Certainly invite you all out, and we'll have more information going out as we get closer. But we're excited about what we have, excuse me, as a staff. Excuse me, and we're excited about where we're going as a staff, and we're excited what this board can help us do to get there. So that information will come out soon, and we're available for any questions if you have any.
Yeah, if I can, thank you for giving that update there. And I guess my idea kind of came from, another city had a kind of a robust, way for the consumer to be able to say, okay, I want to get lunch and I'm in this area. what's in this general area, and maybe that small business may not be able to advertise as much as, say, the McDonald's or the Wendy's or whatever the case may be. And I kind of just took that idea, coupled it with y'all's great idea about the sale app, and I was sitting there thinking, well, maybe this might be an opportunity. I think the Old Town Business Group does something similar already, but I was thinking even larger scale, like, and I know your staff is always stretched to do these types of things, but it would be one of those deals where I think the commission would want to fund something like that, or at least I would, as one commissioner, think it would be a wise investment to invest back into our businesses in some way, fashion, or form, where any business could directly work with that third party to get their location, get a link to their website, a link to their Facebook, whatever they want to do. So it's basically an extension of what you just basically talked about. So it was just an idea. I mean, it meant that lunch place got an extra piece of business from me that would have really gone to, down the way to something else. So, but it really kind of hit home that we could do more with that resource. And then the other thing, if I could, just to dovetail on Mr. Mitchell's idea, I'd love for us to consider, while the facade improvement grant is a great program, I think we should think about looking at those small businesses that are struggling for that one piece of equipment that can make a big difference. I would just encourage you to continue to bring those types of opportunities to us as well, as your staff is finding those, because again, we can be known for growing small businesses. So I just want to encourage that as well. Thank you for the update.
If I could just add along a similar idea, I was in Louisville last week in downtown, and one of the things that I thought was really cool was they had this virtual signage, and you would just go up to it and select restaurants, and it would show you all of the restaurants that were available. It had a small video clip. It even gave you walking directions from where you were. And I think that was really a nice idea that would
be a wonderful addition to our downtown
So if I could, not to let any cats out of the bag, but I'll maybe let a couple kittens out. So we are working and looking to have something like that and see how that would work downtown. You have companies right here in Portsmouth, Simis, Mimic, that do these types of things. We are toying with the idea of having something like that, so when you come off of the ferry and you go to the stop there, you can use your smartphone and see virtually what is there, what is in front of you down High Street. And then the opportunity, once you have that, most people will say, well, if I have it in front of me on my phone, why would I go there? Now you want to make sure that what's on your phone is really what's down there. So if you know that Legend is right next door, but you know that Steel is down the street, or Copper and Oak is down there, you know what you're looking at, and it gives you that virtual tour. We need something like that. I think also we like to have something like that tied into some of those pavers that were put down to give that historical value. So those are on the horizon, and we'll talk a little bit more about the LIP program in just a second. But those are all great ideas.
Sorry, Dr. Patton.
Just returned from a 17-day trip, and I visited 6 countries. And one of the things I saw is just the advancement of countries as compared to we are. What you're talking about as signs, the day of billboards, which we're having in America, were done with 10 years ago in the countries I visited. Those what you speak of, and she went to get my phone, that's the way signage is done. You don't have how we have all this stuff hanging across the street on the side of the post. Everything is just succinct and just breeds a whole different atmosphere. And so I took pictures of those signs on the side, just, saying, and they change. They are digital. We've got one for Hampton Roads and one over there in Norfolk that's on 264. But that what you see on 264, as you're describing, is as you walk down the street, no matter where you went, you saw directional businesses being advertised. It would be great if we could, because we don't have them like that in Hampton Roads. It would be great if we could just maybe it start with a few. And I saw none of them that were damaged, no graffiti, no nothing. You know, you have to wonder if, in fact, if we put that kind of money in it, would it last, or would somebody damage it, or whatever. But I'm going to find and just show you what I'm speaking of from a picture that I took.
But I mean, this is a great opportunity for us to be a pioneer in the Hampton Roads area for this. And if the city were, you know, if this group were to help with that, there's opportunity for us to advertise the events that the city puts on as well, the concert series, those types of things that a lot of our citizens don't even know about. You know, I think that would be a great way of as a civic engagement piece and as a economic development driver for the High Street area. Maybe make that our pilot, and then, you know, move forward based on successes. You know, but I think that's something we should, as a group, strive to do, to be progressive in that aspect.
I think with our new tourism manager, Mr. Keith Toller, this is a great initiative for economic development and tourism to kind of work together, to bring together and kind of make that seamless. So again, staff will reach out, and we will continue to update on any progress that we have.
Thank you.
So the next one is to vote on the chair. Can we change the board?
Okay, so in our new business, I think we amended the agenda successfully, Mr. Hines.
Yes.
And I think,
To the great applause of many.
Yes.
you're good at that stuff, and we're going to take up that item now.
Mr. Vice Chair, I move that we appoint our Vice Chair, Mr. Don Scott, to be chairman for the remainder of the expiring term, which I believe is December 31st, 2019. That was the previous chair going outward. We appoint to the end of that term.
Yeah, I think it was,
Actually, I'm pretty certain it's that. We did 2-year terms.
it is, I'm just not sure. I don't recall when they
Yeah,
start,
because she
when
was
they start
completing a term,
January.
too.
She was completing her second year as chair when she stepped down.
Yeah, I think it made a good run July 1 to July 1.
Yeah.
Just say to the end.
So to the end of the term.
We'll figure that part.
Fair enough.
Second.
All right. Mr. Hines.
Yes.
Mr. Kavachi.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
All right. Well, congratulations.
Okay, now we can.
Our clap was far too quick.
No, we amended the agenda successfully. It was great. It was unanimous. All right.
Stick with that story.
Exactly.
The vice chair.
Well, nominated vice chair, yes.
So now our next item is the nominating committee, which will be a nominating ad hoc committee for vice chair.
We don't need a vote for that. We don't need a vote. We just need to, as the new
I can just
new
appoint
chair,
someone.
you can appoint 2 individuals.
All right, I'll appoint Mr. Hines and Mr. Mitchell. Are you guys okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Be our nominating committee.
All right.
And LIP program ad hoc committee.
Yes, if I could, Chair. We'd like for you to appoint 2 members to the ad hoc committee. We are, for the LIP program, we have some proposals that we would like to discuss with some changes to the program. And certainly, we think it's appropriate to have it discussed with the committee first, and then present those findings to the board after we have that discussion.
Now,
So we need you to appoint 2.
I thought we already had a committee at one time.
You did, but
And it was a
that was
short-term ad hoc, and that's
well, not necessarily short term. The former chair Revel was one of that group, and then Ms. Link.
So we need 2 new people then.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Smith, Mr. Kovacic, y'all good with that?
Yeah, sounds
Y'all
great.
good to educate yourselves on that and bring it back. You got a lot of already subject matter expertise with Mr. Hines, so I'm sure you're gonna be looking over your shoulder the whole time.
No, sir. I'll be too busy helping select the vice chairs.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right.
While you're on the LIP program,
Yes, ma'am.
I might suggest to you all, take a ride down Dinwiddie Street when you leave here today. The money that you gave to, I don't recall the name of the company, but it was David Host,
I remember that.
for the ugly building on Dinwiddie Street at Dinwiddie and Queen.
We didn't know he was gonna stay.
I rode by there yesterday because I wanted to see the top of the steeple is on at Monumental Church, which is also interesting to see. But that building has had I haven't been inside, of course, but the outside is an amazing transformation.
And I remember that Mr.
So
Host,
much
we
better.
were concerned whether he was going to stay or he was building it out to sell, so.
It looks great.
Looks like he stayed.
And if I could.
Yeah.
And just to piggyback on that very quickly, if you think about it in this way, being that you all essentially provide 50% back, if you think about it, expending that $300,000 means that there was $600,000, at least $600,000 worth of new
At minimum.
investment
Yeah.
into the city. That's over $500,000, at least. That's
At a minimum.
That's at a minimum. So that's something that you all should be very proud of. There's a very big impact, especially with buildings such as those and other businesses like Culligan and places like that. So with that success, staff feels that we can tweak the program a little bit more to have an even more profound impact on the businesses and an additional tool in our toolbox when it comes to inviting new businesses and helping existing businesses expand. So we thank you for that opportunity.
All right, next item is closed meeting. Mr. Kovacek?
Yeah.
All right. I move to go into closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code subsection 2.2-3711A3 for the purpose of discussing acquisition and/or disposition of publicly held real property interest, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specifically regarding Victory Village.
Second. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Hines,
Yes.
Mr. Kovacic,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
All right, we are in closed session.
Second.
Mr. Hines,
Yes.
Mr. Kovacic,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
You're in open session.
Anything for the good of the order before we close?
I think Mr. Mitchell has a question he
Oh,
wanted to
I'm
ask
sorry.
now. You can ask that question you're going to ask now.
My question was, where do we stand with the city hall?
So,
Still moving forward with
Yeah.
that project, and they are in the midst of dealing with a presentation that we'll bring back to council before the end of August.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
And maybe this is something that's already kind of started or been looked at, but I know it's been highly discussed. I can't tell you how many phone calls I've received about this particular item that's over our shoulder. Have we done any sort of economic impact on that? And if, for our downtown businesses at all, has that been looked at? Have we talked with our businesses? Is there any assistance, if necessary, that we can maybe consider? Any contract remedies that the city could take? Again, and I don't have to answer it now, but maybe it's something we can
I will say
we can
this.
look at.
I will say that staff has begun reaching out and sitting down with the businesses to discuss those impacts. And I'll just leave it at that. We have started that process.
Fair enough. You don't need to go no further. I'm just happy that you're reaching out. Thank you.
Anything else today? Move to adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.